Hey, everybody, this is Bill Champlin, and I'm hanging out right now as we speak with Rob on Front Row Live.
You've had such an incredible career and you've experienced so many changes throughout the music industry. And like right now, as you're about to release a new single, Reason to Believe, how different was that writing process for you this time around, knowing that you've had such an incredible career of writing multiple hits?
Yeah. Well, the reason to believe is it was a really close friend of mine, Bruce Gaich, who's a guitar player. I did a lot of co-writing and playing on Richard Marx's records. They kind of grew up together in Chicago and moved out to LA at the same time. But Bruce and I and my wife Tamara have been writing together for God 20 more than 20 years. And I haven't we have I mean he lives in Nashville. When I was there I wrote with him a bit, but mostly I've kind of been, what no matter how close you are, if you're that many miles away, you kind of lose track after a while. So he sent me this track, and it was a track that he'd recorded, I don't know, maybe 5 6 years ago. George Hawkins was playing bass on it, and George just passed away. He's one of my favorite bass players in the world about 2 years ago. So I know it was more than 2 years ago, and it was just, oh, man, I can get a George, a song with George on it on the record. It's just soulful. I mean, he was just so great. George did all those Kenny Loggins records. That was really great. Him and Tristan Bowden were the rhythm section for, I don't know, 10 or 11 years, something like that with Kenny. But Vinny Colaiuto playing drums on it. And this was just a track he sent me. And the minute we heard it, just an MP3, the minute we heard it, Tamara and I went, paper, pencil, let's do this, So we did the vocal melodies and lyrics. I mean, I was cutting this thing within a day or two of hearing it the first time. I mean, we had it right off the bat. And, it was kind of, it was just sort of a song. Lyrically, I was kind of leaning toward gratitude, just basic gratitude. People get you through really, really hard places, and right there they give you a reason to believe. And that's how the song kind of ended up. But Tamara's such a great lyricist. She's kind of saw where I wanted to go with it and just jumped right in and helped me out with it. So I mean, the two of us do a lot of songwriting together.
And what's that chemistry like between the two of you when you guys are songwriting, whether it's for another artist or for yourself?
Well, she's really great at melodies. She's not a player per se. She's really great at melodies and premise. She just comes up with premise like crazy ideas. Usually, she'll come up with a really cool lick or riff or something that's what starts the song. With this one, we had a track already, so we had to kind of fit in there. And I was just kind of already writing a little deeper than usual for this solo album. And she saw where we were going and went, okay, I'm with you all the way. And we came up with a song, and I think it's really good. It opens the album. It's the first song on the album, and it's sort of like just when you thought it was safe to go in the water, you get hit with a slam, because it starts off kind of cute and pretty, and boom, it's like Bambi meets Godzilla. The way I look at it.
Well, I guess since you kind of jumped in on that, what was the meaning behind organizing these 16 tracks the way that you did?
Well, I mean, we're actually the 16th. It's a 14 song album in the United States, and
okay.
Digitally we're going to do 14 songs. I always do 2 extra songs because I'm usually going to do a deal in Japan, and they always kind of demand two extras, and everybody I know gets caught by surprise. Oh man, I got to come up with 2 extra songs, and I knew it was coming. So I made sure that I, mixed and mastered two extra songs. So that's sort of what's on the things. But it's 14 songs, and I just wanted to make it a little. I read somewhere or heard somewhere that somebody said if it's not personal, it's not art. So I went, well, hell with it. I'm going in. And I've been doing background vocals for years. I'm kind of a good ensemble arranger, and I've been doing that kind of stuff for years. But I find that that's a little bit, it's vocal, but it's a little mathematical. You do better if you don't emote, and then lead singing is a different story. You got to dig in, you want people to understand every word you're saying.
Right.
So I've made sure that I didn't sing my leads the same days I did backgrounds. which I used to do. It just ends up sounding like an eighth or seventh background part. I like it to kind of sit out there by itself and let it hang on its own.
I feel like you're reading my questions because now that we are talking about the vocals, it's like, how do you?
I'm reading your
that?
questions. It's right behind you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And it also said, it also said, Rob, you need new light bulbs in the bathroom.
I feel like you're literally here.
Well, that's the thing with Zoom. It's what we have at this point. I mean, I see a lot of bands on Zoom where they've all played together, but they've all been doing it from their own house. Mm-hmm. But they're all in little squares. And I always expect a Brady Bunch song to start any minute. Here's a story about a man named Brady. I just kind of go, well, but it's what we got. A lot of people are really doing. I mean, I'm so new to Zoom. I don't even know how it works most of the time.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're doing a great job. So no complaint here. Yeah. But, as far as your vocals, how do you preserve your voice? Whether it's background singing or lead singing, how are you able to take care of that?
Somebody said, how do you warm up? I said, usually by singing the first song of the set. That's my warm up, is the first song. I was doing a lot of vocal dates with David Foster for a long time. And he started having everybody do these. He'd learned a warm up thing from Ella Fitzgerald, actually. And it was like Ming Mong, Ming Mong. Yeah, so let's do some Ming Mongs. And he'd get it so high that by the time we got to singing, my pipes were shot on the warm up. So I kind of got out of it. I said, no, I'm just going to go, just going to go for it. I've been really lucky in terms of keeping my pipes together. I mean, I used to smoke a lot. I haven't smoked for God knows how many years, 25, 30, 35 years, something like a long time. And I just kind of, it's all that smoking did is damage, but I still managed to get it across somehow. I don't have quite the falsetto that I used to have, but I use that mostly for background things, especially when the Bee Gees were going on, man. Everybody wanted that sound. So I was singing up here all the time, which was, man, for them, it worked great. It was really cool. But, I've just been really lucky in terms of keeping my pipes happening.
Yeah. And as you mentioned, David Foster, he was with you early on. And in fact, you introduced Chicago to David Foster on one of the
they knew him, but they didn't know him as a producer.
As a producer, right? So the fact that you have this kind of relationship with David over the years, did you bring him on board for this new album, Looking for Love, or is this something that you kind of kept to yourself?
No, I hadn't really talked to David in a long, long time, and then me and Jay Graydon, who's another great producer and arranger and monstrous guitar player, who co-wrote After the Love's Gone with me and David. And we went to a show that David had, it was just him and three other musicians and a handful of singers. It was just insane. It was really great. And I hadn't seen him in a long time. He had some issues with Chicago, and I happened to be in the band. So I was kind of in that, those guys, they did some things about him that, he kind of thought I was involved in. And no, I've never been anything but the biggest fan in the world. So we've kind of whatever fences needed mended, and we're hanging, I mean, although he spent a lot more time in Canada now, especially since the going on. And he was living right near where all the riots were happening. And I think he just went, well, since I'm not working, I think I'm going to go home for a minute. So he bailed out to Canada. I'm pretty sure he's still there.
Yeah, man. So, with the experience,
he's an amazing musician.
He's incredible. He's incredible. And the experience that you kind of had with him.
He's incredible.
What kind of techniques, aside from singing and preserving your voice, what kind of techniques did you learn from him in the studio as far as like the production goes?
Well, it's kind of hard to say. I mean, I think what it is, with him, the thing that I found from him is I've worked with a lot of producers, and they kind of go, this is how we're going to do it. We're not going to go past here. And with David, you listen to what you got, like horn parts and stuff like that. And he goes, we can make that better. And that's the thing that I learned from him more than anything else, is never stop creating. You know, come up if you can come up with some new stuff, because you just may happen on a thing that's going to make that record just go through the roof. You know, and that's sort of what he's about. And everybody has their, I guess you'd call it formula, but they have their tricks that they go to, including myself. You know, not tricks, but devices that you use. And David has a lot of those devices. I mean, for years he always doubled the piano parts with the Rhodes. And then people started putting out synthesizer parts that already doubled. You know? You kind of going, well, that works. I don't have that one less track I got to take, you know.
Right.
And but whenever I saw him working, first of all, the guy is one of the best piano players on the earth. I mean, he's such a good. What is it? Greg Matheson, who's another great keyboard player and co-producer and co-writer and co-producer of mine. And Greg just said, David's the best pop piano player on the earth. He's just developed certain style things. And I can't come near it. I can kind of learn it to play it live and get it close. But once again, just so creative. It's just, and I just kind of went, I'm going to stay with that. So I'm going to try to stick with that program and just keep it creative. You come up with an idea, give it the 5-minute test. If it doesn't work, erase it, do something else. You know, and that was one of the things that he taught me. The 5-minute test is a good idea, you know.
So much can happen in 5 minutes. And, you know, I used to think 5 minutes wasn't enough, but, you know, lately I've been hearing people that 5 minutes, there's a record. 5 minutes, like there's a hit. Yeah. So, you know, with that test, how often do you use that test on your music? How often did you use it on this album, Looking for Love?
All the time. I try to stay totally creative. Now, you got to look at what's going on in the last, you know, with just about every musician that I know as the studio is making records. Yeah. So 2021 is going to have as many records as there were babies 9 months after the New York. You know, it's just the way it is. And I just kind of went, you know, I can't go out and play live. Nobody's, you know, all the live gigs went down the tubes. And I love playing live. It just, you know, you can't right now. So I just kind of went, if there was ever a time to do another solo album, now's the time. It's my last solo album was, I think, 10, 11, 12 years ago, something like that. Quite a while back. And even more than that, I think, yeah, about 12 years ago. So it was about time. You know, I've done other projects. We just did a project just a couple of years ago with me and Tamra and my friend Gary Falcone. It was called Wonderground, you know, Wunder, ground. Yes. It's a great album. It's a little more rock than because Gary's input into it. He's a real rock guitar player, real, you know, shredder. He just really plays that kind of stuff. So I kind of built it around that. And actually, the 2 extra songs were originally Wonderground tunes, and I just yanked them and put them on my solo album. You know, at least for the bonus tracks.
Yeah, that's cool. So, had this year not happened, you wouldn't have even considered a solo album again.
Well, it just seemed like, you know, I was writing a tune, actually, just a kind of almost a bluesy little thing with some cool changes in it. Mm-hmm. And just on guitar and singing, and Tamra, and I had it pretty much written. Tamra came home from the store or wherever she was out there doing something. She came home and I said, "What do you think of this?" And I played it for her. She said, "You got to do a solo album. Now's the time. You know, forget Wonderground for the moment. Let's just go in. If there's some songs that they were doing that you know the band was doing, and you want to make it more yours, do it. You know, it's all yours." And Gary's very, very cool about it. So whatever you do and however you do it. So she really kind of pointed me in that direction. It's time for you to do this. You know, I've had a handful of pretty bad years in a lot of ways, just medically, and there'd been a lot. I lost a son 3 years ago, which was kind of a, you know, hard. I mean, the day after I was diagnosed with cancer, he died of it. You know, so
oh my gosh,
rough week. You know what I mean? Man. So I'm a real fan of cancer. I think it's one of the best things. Wrong, all wrong. It's just not happening. So I mean, and that's where, you know, where I was saying before is if it isn't personal. So I got a song on there about that. Yeah. There's a handful of things on there, and then of course there's the occasional lyric that's like, you know, sort of R&B traditional. Oh baby, you're fooling around with another man kind of stuff. You know, there's a blues tradition there. And then every once in a while, that's the lyrics that come out, and I'll go with it, you know, if it feels right for the track.
Right.
I got 3 tracks that Greg Matheson put together, and Matheson is ridiculous. I mean, I think he and I actually co-wrote and put on one of my solo albums, and Al Jarreau did a version of it. Actually, it was probably one of the last things he got on the charts with.
Wow.
Song called "Just to Be Loved," which was a I think it was a #1 jazz chart. You know, whatever that means anymore. You know? This was quite a few years back. Is when I was I think right when he first started signing with Concord. You know, so it was kind of cool. I missed the guy. He was a sweetie pie, man, wonderful guy.
I mean, you've experienced so much. It's insane. Like, and in doing so, like, how are you able to keep your guitar riffs, keep your guitar lines so fresh every single time? How do you not run out of material?
I'm a kind of a closet rhythm guitar player. You know, I mean, if I go, okay, I got a track here, and I've put like a loop or a drum thing together in the piano part. This is where the chords go. This is what's happening here. Time to do guitars. First thing I do is rhythm guitar. And the first thing I think is, what would Steve Cropper do? Steve played with Booker T and the MGs. He played some of the most, you know, what I call brilliantly ignorant guitar parts that were just great. You know, there's stuff that's just so believable. And he co-produced all the Otis Redding records, and or he produced them. You know, he did co-wrote a lot of stuff. Co-wrote Sitting on the Dock of the Bay. I mean, Steve's just one of the all-time. And in his era at Stax Folk, he was like one of the main guys. And his playing, just his rhythm parts were great. So I mean, whenever it's time to do rhythm, I go, okay, what would Steve do? Now, some of these changes aren't down his alley, so I got to figure a way around that, figure out how to do them. But I've listened to, you know, Paul Jackson Jr. and a lot of other people, but you know, I kind of know what I want in rhythm guitar, and it's just got to have a certain feel to it. If the feel's there, then the parts will be. It's the way I look at it.
Just all comes naturally for you.
Yeah. That, and you know, it's weird because a lot of people don't even know I play guitar. I mean, oh man, that must have been Carmen Grillo, or that must have been, you know, Gary Falcone. It must have been somebody else. No, I played the rhythm. I usually hand off solos. I mean, I got a couple of really kind of short solos on the record, but I usually hand solos off to monsters. You know, guys that are packing some chops. You know, I've got Mark Russo, sax player, who's actually been playing with the Doobies for the last probably 10 something years. Mm-hmm. But he was originally with Yellow Jackets, and he played with the Suns for a while with my band.
Wow.
And he's just insane. He's how good a player he is. So I took he had a solo on one of the tunes, and I just said, I'm going to unload all the vocals on the end of it, and it'll just let you take it out. And he just tore it up. As you know, so I really like to have a certain amount of you know, badasses on the record. It's you know, people kind of expect that. I mean, when the Suns first happened, we had a guitar player who was really an innovator, Terry Haggerty. He was one of the first guys to do kind of preamp, hard-driven, rock-sounding guitar, but doing bebop licks with it. One of the first guys to get away with that. And then, you know, along came everybody else, John McLaughlin, so on and so forth. But I mean, Terry was, as far as I know, he was the first guy to go out of pentatonic into some stuff, you know. And he's still a monster. He's a really close friend.
That's cool.
You know. That's so I kind of I like to surround myself with badasses.
Sounds like your life is full of a lot of badasses.
Yeah, I mean, most of my friends are really, really good at what they do, and it's, you know, I mean, we got Lenny Castro on percussion on all but all but one song on the record.
Wow.
And on the 14 song record, and oh my God, it's just, you know, I just gave him the drive and went home. He called, he said, I'm done. Why don't we pick up the drive, opened it up, and went, holy smokes, this guy. And, you know, Lenny Castro he's been, you know, a major session guy for years. He was with Toto almost from the beginning.
Yeah.
And he's been playing with Joe Bonamassa. They did a tour of just Joe and Lenny. That's it.
Jeez.
You know, I saw it on TV. It was just Joe. I think Joe was playing an acoustic on the song that I saw, and Lenny was playing and had his whole percussion rig. He's an amazingly great groover. You know, he just put some stuff on it. And I got great drummers on the record. I got Gordon Campbell on 5 songs, 5 or 6 songs, Alan Hertz on a lot of the other songs. And Alan actually was the Pro Tools mixer for the record.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh yeah, man. One-stop shop. Go over and get the drums done and go home with a mix.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Sounds like this record just naturally happened for you. Like there wasn't much of any issues going on. But do you feel like there was a particular challenge in order to finalize the album, whether it was a particular song or like a particular lyric that kind of hit you?
Well, I kind of want, I mean, there's, like I say, there's some lyrics that are sort of traditionally, oh, baby, why are you hanging out with these other guys kind of stuff. And that's not really my story on any level, but it's sort of traditional blues premise. You know what I mean? There's a couple of those, 1 or 2 of those, but for the most part, it's, you know, the title Living for Love is really kind of what the album's about. And I kind of tried to get it as personal as I could on some levels without being maudlin, you know, without, hey, I went to the store this morning and I saw Mr. Smith there. And I've heard lyrics like that before. I mean, I did a demo for a guy one time back in the day when I first moved to LA, and he had a song written and he had the word juxtaposition in the song. And I went, that's not a word you use in a song. He said, well, just sing it anyway. Okay. Well. And I was actually writing a song with Steve Diamond, who's a really great writer. And I told him the story about, well, it's juxtaposition. He said, well, it might fit if it was in a rap song like, but baby, it's juxtaposition. I just went, yes, Steve. It's just, he nailed it. That's why you're a songwriter.
So you have comedians around your group as well.
Oh, are you kidding me? If it isn't laughing. I mean, I worked with a producer years ago, and he said something that really stuck with me forever. He says, first of all, the best records are made by a few good people. Second of all, if you walk into a session and everybody's going, we need a hit, instead of going, dig that, you know, big smiles, you know, and going, and, you know, I mean, that's why you want to record. You want to hear yourself back with some nice reverb and a little bit of delay and nice and fat, and, you know, all compressed and just the way you want to hear it. It makes you sound bigger than you are. And it just, you know, I think every musician at some level, that's why they're playing. That's why they're recording.
Right.
So, I kind of know that. I don't get too terribly excited because I've done it a lot over the years, but it's just, you know, the other thing Michael says, Mike Stewart was Billy Joel's first producer. He did a couple albums with Billy, and I think Piano Man was one of them, actually. And Mike was saying the first thing to go to tape is who you are and how you feel. The next thing to go to tape is time, intonation, enunciation, all the stuff you learn in school. He said, but really what you're trying to get across in a vocal, especially in a vocal, who you are and how you feel. And I tried to keep that in mind doing this whole record, you know, because I mean, my vocal situation, except for one song, my vocal situation, just me, a Pro Tools rig. I'm sitting down. Some people say, man, you got to stand up to sing. Tell that to Stevie Wonder. Tell that to Ray Charles. Tell that to Billy Joel. Tell that to Elton John, you know. So I sit there, I punch myself in. I got a C12. I sing right in it, right there, reach around, punch myself in, punch myself out, and edit it. Make sure that there's no feet stomping and all the crap that you usually get when you're doing vocals. And that really kind of, when I decide I want to do something, there's nobody to tell me I can't.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of cool. I mean, a lot of producers tell you what you can't do, and that's how that's what they do. I'm producing myself. I know what I'm capable of, and I know what feels good, and that's really kind of where I want to go. A lot of records nowadays, they're so perfect that nobody's touching you with it. Yeah, you're going, wow, listen to that production. Listen how great that is. And then you hear the vocal and you go, huh? There's no feel anymore. I mean, because you can overuse the machines, you know. Listen to Hendrix, out of tune, and the time is going like that. I wouldn't have it any other way. Listen to the intonation, actually the intonation of the Beatles on like Sgt. Pepper. There's a lot of out of tune stuff there, but it feels great.
You have to do the raw like that. Yeah. That's how we get that emotion across.
Yeah. Somebody asked me one time, a real Pro Tools guy, a really great guy. He says, "Hey man, back in the day when you're doing your solo albums and Chicago stuff with Foster, how'd you tune everything?" I said, "We recorded it." "Well, yeah, I know, but how did you tune it?" "We recorded it. If it was out of tune, we did it again, you know. If it was out of tune, then we did it again until it was right, you know." And he said, "Well, how did you lock it, get everything so, time wise so good?" "We recorded it." So I kind of do that now. I don't really use pitch correction very much. It just, it seems, you know, occasionally if it's a really great line and there's one word that's out of tune, I'll pop it up a little bit. But
Yeah.
for the most part, I mean, a lot of people, I mean, everybody always refers to the Cher record, "If You Believe" or whatever it is. That
Mhm.
was, I think they kind of happened on auto tune. It hit it so hard it made that wing 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 funny sound, and they went, "Hey, that's a cool thing." So I mean, it was great then, but I mean, I don't want to hear it every day.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Well, I'm excited for people to listen to this record.
It's
It's
really it's a cool album. There's some great moments in it. I know people who've got the SoundCloud thing, and I said, "Man, there's not, you know, usually in every album there's one that you go, I'm gonna pass this one by."
Yeah.
I
No,
mean,
you
I
can't
love
do
this.
this.
Huh?
It's hard to not like a single song. I feel like the entire track list is just incredible.
Yeah, and they all have their own little space and their own little groove, and there's a lot of deep stuff. I mean, song "Another Lie," people can listen to it that don't know the story,
Mhm.
and they just go, "That's a really cool song." You know, love the piano intro. It's kind of in some ways in the sort of David Foster tradition. Although, man, I couldn't touch his hands with a 10-foot pole. The hands that I've so many times wanted to take a chainsaw to. You know, David, he's playing too good. Gone. That takes care of that. Jiving around is just awesome. But I mean, I kind of built the song that way at some level. But you know, and people say, "Man, that's a really great tune, really kind of a power ballad. It's really great." And then they hear the story, and it's really about my son. And then they go, "Whoa!" You know, it took me 2 years to write that song
I'm
because and to
sure.
make sure that it wasn't just a maudlin, you know, or that it wasn't just, you know, a lot of times you see in country songs, they write a song about somebody who passed away, and suddenly now that they're gone, they were angels their whole life.
Mm.
Nah, not happening. That's not what it's about. So, you know, like I say, some of the personal stuff, I just went, you know, I'm going to put this in. If people don't like it, then good.
Yeah.
Go buy a some Foo Fighters record or something, you know, which I love. I mean, I'm a rock fan. I tell you know, I mean, I sort of became aware of AC/DC way late in my life, and I
Oh
suddenly
man.
went, you know, it's really good. There's some, you know, the grooves are, you know, the grooves that those guys put together. Malcolm was as good a rhythm player as anybody.
Yeah,
Really dug in deep, you know.
man. So much knowledge in this conversation. I love
Yeah.
this. Now that you know we're getting ready to release that first single, do you have a date for the actual album, or is that something
I
that you're
think the
still trying
album
to figure out?
itself, digitally, the album itself is going to come out. I think somewhere between January 15th and the
Mm.
22nd, somewhere in there, is what they're planning on. The single "Reason to Believe" is coming out on January 1st, New Year's
Wow.
Day. You know,
Start the new year.
it's going to be the Hangover release. And then we're doing you know, the company wanted to just the company Imagine Records, who's really cool. These guys are, you know, they got Shauna working for them, and you know,
Mm.
really cool people. They just really kind of want to do the digital, and I think Warner Music Group is involved in international release, all but
Wow.
Japan. And in Japan it's coming out on Sony. That's where
Okay.
the two extra songs will be. And
Yeah.
but we're doing just, you know, out of my own website, we're doing mail order CD things. And the
Okay.
cover's amazing. The cover of the CD is it's worth having. I mean, we bought the painting of a painter named Vladimir Kush, who's just insanely beautiful. He just does great stuff. And we saw a painting that he did in a gallery, you know, maybe 3-4 months ago. And Tamara said, "My God, there's your record cover." So not only did we buy the painting, but we got in touch with his people and licensed that painting for the album cover, and we're really proud of it. I mean, he's amazing. I mean, he lives in Hawaii, but I don't think he's ever drawn a dolphin in his life. You know, it's not Hawaiian art. You know, it's not island art. You know, which is you have to have dolphins, you have to have hula skirts, you have to have ukuleles. All great, but you know, this guy's pretty amazing. You know, really good thing. His painting is called Symphony for the Sun or Symphony of the Sun. One of those. Really cool record cover.
That's amazing. Well, congratulations, Bill.
Thank you,
I'm
man.
excited once again. I'm excited that, you know, you're still going strong with this music. I mean, it's something that you've done all your life, and, you know, no matter if it's for you or with another project, like, you keep releasing some pretty epic songs and songwriting sessions. So thank you again for taking the time.
We're still, and now we're working on a record for Tamara. Getting one of her things, because she's great. She's all over this record.
It just never ends.
It never ends. So I mean, the minute it was, oh, okay, we're done. Okay, I got an idea. Let's write this. She said, "What do you think of this?" Okay, let's check it out and do it. And we got in there, and just the last couple of days, we've just been going, "Whoa, we got a winner on our hands here." So we had like 5 or 6 things already.
Wow.
For her. So we're going to be going through this process once again pretty quick.